Assalamu alaikum, Wasif Anwar. You're on mute. All right.
Assalamu alaikum, Mufti
Wa
sahab. Can you hear
alaikum
me?
assalam. I can. कैसे हैं आप Wasif? How are
Alhamdulillah.
things? And
All
where are
good.
you joining us from?
I know like it is too late, so I'll not take
It
like
is
more than
quite
2 minutes.
late.
I just want to
Shukriya, shukriya.
really appreciate you for what you're doing. This is the first time I'm calling on any any channel in my own life, and I'm pretty old. Like I'm almost 40 now, so
You're young, yeah. They say life begins at 40, and you're younger. Obviously, look at that. You're saying, look how old I'm just about to turn 40. Hum to budya gaye hain,
not
yaar.
40.
We're older than that.
Yeah.
I'm almost 43 now.
Yeah, so I can relate to a lot of what you speak about and what the journey you have spoken. And I'm from India, in a state called Bihar. Currently,
Bihar, of course,
I,
yaar.
I'm
Bihar,
working
kya
in
baat hai
UAE.
Bihar ki.
I love your Bihari accent from time to time.
Kabhi koshish karte hain. We gotta try. We gotta, I love the accent. I gotta say, I love the the way the
We should
Bihari speak.
explore a bit more of Bihar and India and subcontinent, honestly,
Yeah.
because what I feel is missing is I don't see too much nuance in terms of understanding how Islam is in India, right? Uh,
Yes.
it's very, very diverse. There's like so many layers.
Yeah.
Sometimes I feel that especially the ulama have like very top surface understanding of things, especially when it comes to India,
Yeah.
and it's mostly like Persian, Urdu, Arabic centric,
Mm,
which is
yeah.
even though like Muslims have lived for almost 1,000 years in this region, but
Exactly. Yeah.
they've not invested time in understanding what this region is about, right?
True. Wallahi, I agree with you 100%. I feel that, it's, look, it's, yes, some things, the standard things are always great, but different things are interesting.
Yeah.
Because okay, maybe it's not everybody's cup of tea, it doesn't have to be, but it's interesting. You had, for example, the attempts by certain people, like you have Dara Shikoh. Now he did try, and and one of the things I'll actually speak about this. Now he had this whole attempt because he translated some of the Upanishads into Farsi at the time, and he wrote his book Majma' al-Bahrain, because he learned Sanskrit, and he studied the Rig Vedas, and he studied things, and he found parallels. So within, for example, India, the Hinduism, which is now called Hinduism, otherwise it's loads of different kind of ways. Like, people have got their own thing. There's different madhabs and stuff like this amongst them. So he speaks about particularly the Advaita Vedanta, and he says that these people are Muwahidan Hind. They are the people of Tawheed of Hind.
Yeah.
They're not into the kind of the whole bhakti kind of movements. They don't have the idols and stuff, but they obviously still have the other. And it's just interesting seeing it. You see, it's not about whether he's right or wrong, but he has parallels. Like he says, for example, it seems like in their books that he'll say things like, it seems like Brahma is like Jibrail, and Shiva is like Israfil, and he gives these parallels, and he speaks about this, and he's trying to show some what he feels are parallels in ancient books, because he thinks that even though some of the books were changed in his time, that when the Quran says, and he quotes, what is it? He says the Quran says that there's the Kitabul Maknoon, that's it. And he says, what is the Kitabul Maknoon that the Quran is referring to? It's like an ancient kind of sealed book or something and he feels it was the Ved. These were them. Now, this is his opinion. It doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to be accurate, but it was an attempt of a person living in his day and age. This is obviously in the time of Aurangzeb. who's writing. I mean, he has his book known as Risala Haqnuma, and where he's kind of, and these are all in kind of Farsi and that, but he's showing and he's speaking about stuff. But you see, it's interesting whether it's log isme par jate hain ki yaar sach bol rahe hain ki galat bol rahe hain. But the point is that look, it's not about sometimes accuracy, it's about it's interesting. The person was from a country, he was from that part of the world, he studied the ancient languages, and he said, look, and many people, to be fair, many ulama feel, I'm not saying this is true, but many ulama feel that Adam alayhi salam was in India. They say in Sri Lanka, this is where Adam alayhi salam came.
Yes.
And so he was obviously building on that tradition. So I found it so fascinating that somebody tried to do that. And his book, Majma' al-Bahrain, which in Sanskrit, he called it Samudra Sangam. That Samudra Sangam, that this Majma' al-Bahrain, the joining of the Samudra in Sanskrit, I think they say without the noon in the Samudra. And I just thought, wow, like, wouldn't it be interesting if Muslims had just explored or just wrote about that, and they don't have to accept it. You see, look, I spoke about today, there was an ijtihad of a scholar saying, look, if a ship is sinking, you can kill 1/3 of the. Now that's absurd. I would never agree with that ijtihad. He's a great imam of the Maliki madhab, but the point was, they still transmit it in the books and they still discuss it sometimes. Say, well, this is what made him think this. Okay, we don't agree with it, but
I think so.
There's that discussion
on this Mufti. Just like 1 minute of time I'll take. What I feel like most of the scholarship happens, on the backdrop of some particular situation of that time, right? So the scholarship depends on what kind of situation they are in and what is in vogue at that particular time. So it is not necessary that scholars are like really superhumans. They are kind of dependent on what is going on. So I feel that. And the other question that always kind of bothers me is in especially like in the Islamic history, is scholarship, can it really be isolated from what is happening in politics, right?
This is the question, can it? Because I doubt it. Because when you read,
because I feel that the more I read it, obviously, like, I'm not as well read as some of like your viewers. I'm like just superficial knowledge. But the more I read about history, the more I learn about new things, I get a sense that most of it is either happening because of some political situation, or it's happening because of some economic interest, or it is happening because of some basic human interest. So it is very difficult for us to kind of pinpoint today as to what was happening 500, 400.
And this is where Ibn Khaldun is saying al-insan madaniyun bit-taba', that insan is a social creature. He doesn't live in a vacuum. You see, there's micro influences, there's macro influences. We are all, you, I, everyone. And I think it's true. I think personally that there is a lot to learn from Muslims in India for people that don't live in India. And unfortunately, nowadays they are struggling. There is a struggle because of the rise of fascism and stuff like this, the right-wing kind of populism, and make it easy for them.
I have a different opinion on that, but anyways, I'll...
Sure. And but what I was going to say, as just reminded me as a quick note, people sometimes they say this. You must be familiar. Recently, in India, there was this whole this guy who's doing all this Wasim, is it Wasim something?
Wasim Rizvi Saab,
Wasim Rizvi. So this guy, basically, for the viewers that don't know, he rejected Islam. I think he was from a Shia origin, but he rejected Islam, and then he's recently become a Hindu. Like, he's announced, I think his name is, I read it somewhere, Jatindra or something, I can't remember, and he's become some kind of Brahmin or something, or some Pandit. He's trying to be a priest. But this isn't the issue. The issue is that he had been battling, like he's very not critical ain't the word. He's very rude towards Islam. And he's very
Yeah.
kind of, he rallies a lot of hatred against Muslims. So he says things like these Muslims need to be fixed by violence because they're not going to learn, they're just going to keep multiplying, just that scaremongering thing. And this is why some right-wing people like him. But what I wanted to cite was...
my opinion on right-wing people is that, any right-wing loves the left-wing of the other religion, So, for example, so they would love liberals in right-wing Hindus would love liberals of Muslims, and right-wing Muslims would love liberals of Hindus. So, they love
because I suppose it's in some ways like a Hegelian kind of, they call it dialectic.
So what would typically happen is like somebody who is kind of questioning, things, extremist interpretations of Muslims, extremist Hindus would really love that, appreciate it, encourage them. And
but that's more so from the enemy of my enemy is my friend. That's
absolutely
more so from that angle. Yeah.
And also it gives them some kind of comfort, right? In terms of it gives them comfort that at least they are in the right place. It's as basic as that, right?
You see, what's worth highlighting is for people that don't know that this character, this person, Wasim, that we're speaking of, Rizvi, he made a petition in India to have, I think, 26 verses of the Quran removed or something.
Yes.
And he took it to the Supreme Court in India. Now, check this out, because people sometimes say that, look, oh my God, and some people, they kind of deride and they say things. But I was really kind of wowed, and that first of all, the audacity that he tried to take the Quran, as he claimed that it needed to be condemned and 26 or whatever they were verses need to be removed from the Quran. He took this matter to court. The court slammed him, condemned him, and fined him as making such an outrageous and inflammatory kind of
that is this country here.
Yeah, honestly. This is the secular court of India, and I really saluted that. I thought the fact that these people, most likely not Muslim, likely, and I'm just saying in the court, most of the staff, I'm assuming they're not Muslim. Most of them, the country currently is under a BJP rule, which isn't very helpful. There's the rise of populism. You could feel, and all this is going on, and in that climate, they not only, you see, they could have just said, sorry, we dismissed this case. They slammed him, held him in contempt of court for making such a ridiculous claim against a sacred book, and fined him. And I thought, wow, this is the kind of insania that we see, that we really need to connect with in this day and age. This humanity that people have, that they say, look, we ain't Muslim, but this is a holy book at the end of the day. This is held so dear to people. Like, how dare you just try to be so inflammatory with it? And I just thought it's worth sharing that. Yeah.
Just to share something with your viewers about what kind of experience. Like, typically we hear a lot of flack about India, right? Especially like in today's context and all, but that's only a tip of the iceberg, right? If you go to see, Muslims in India are not homogeneous. They are like extremely diverse. Like I am from Bihar. I would not know anybody from Kerala, right? I would have nothing in common with them. I don't know the language. I don't know their food.
That is odd, isn't it? But because they wouldn't even speak Hindi. They wouldn't speak Hindi.
Yeah. So I went to Kerala like 2 years back. I went to the Juma prayers. The khutbah was in Malayali. I could not understand anything.
Yeah, I have some friends from Kerala, and I have some kind of mentorees, like some clients.
And that's not only for Kerala.
They don't speak Urdu. They don't understand.
What I'm saying is, it's not only for Kerala. Kerala is a good example because people know it, right? But you go to any part other than the northern belt, like you go to Andhra Pradesh, you go to Karnataka, you go to Maharashtra. I've lived in Maharashtra for 10 years. So, it's very, very difficult to generalize about.
Did you used to bump into people? Did you used to bump into Shah Rukh Khan and Salman Khan?
I stood outside his house for some.
क्या बात है
I've not seen.
Mashallah.
Okay, thanks
Somebody
a lot,
just said
Mufti
just
Saab. I think
shukran.
time we'll catch up.
Shukran. Likewise.
And really
Shukran.
appreciate
Much.
your work. Keep doing what you're doing, and may Allah bless you and your
Likewise, man.
and everybody around you.
Inshallah, Allah khush rakhen.
Thank you.
Shukran. People, that was Wasif Anwar from